Yo guys, welcome back to the Uncle Sharma channel. Here, obviously, for a big match preview, and I've got a big Lazio fan to do it with me. What is up, Shawn McIntosh? Just introduce yourself to the audience.
Yeah, well, Uncle Zio Sharma, thank you for having me on. I'm Shawn McIntosh, big Lazio fan, been a Lazio fan really since birth. I grew up in Italy. My family's from Gaeta, a region or a small town in the region of Lazio. So for me, I grew up watching Lazio, big fan. It's kind of in my blood, and excited, obviously, to help grow. Not just calcio, but obviously the passion and love for Lazio. I've worked in the professional sports industry. It's taken me to some different cities in the United States. And when I was in Texas, in Houston, I launched Texas Laziale, a Lazio supporters group. We had a nice little following, 20-30 club members that would gather together to watch matches. Ended up moving to Las Vegas and rebranded and launched the Las Vegas Laziale. And so again, just kind of growing and trying to spread the passion and love for Lazio. And here a few months ago, I'd been on a number of different podcasts, had built a good relationship with Stephen K. Moore, who runs the Laziale. And so I wanted to launch kind of my own YouTube channel and podcasts just specifically on Lazio, and doing a little bit different than some of the other ones out there. And so we launched the Bianco Celesti broadcast. And so, just chatting Lazio, and you've been a good supporter of ours, and I'm happy to jump on your show and talk about this massive match that we've got looming here in a couple days.
Yeah, no, definitely recommend people to check out Bianco Celesti broadcast, because it gives me a good perspective on Lazio things, because obviously I follow, Jerry Mancini and Steven, both of them, but it gives a nice perspective. And I saw your guys already did a preview with Nima, so I encourage people to check that one out. We'll leave it in the description and the comments below. But yes, Shawn, this match, it feels quite, I feel quite tense coming towards this. Usually the Lazio match, we're kind of, we have quite a nice relationship historically, Inter and Lazio, the fan bases. But over the last few years, this match is becoming quite a sticky point. Like, it's becoming, sometimes Inter win, sometimes Lazio win. Last time obviously it was a draw, and I remember the loss that we took at the Olimpico last year. So it's definitely a very tricky team, and I'm not confident going into this. How do you feel coming into this?
Well, look, it's a good point. Obviously, there's been a lot of back and forth, and it's been a pretty competitive match for both sides. What's interesting about this matchup too is how important it has been for the final standings in the table. Going back to what, 3 years ago when we were playing on the final match day. I'll never forget that. Obviously, as a Lazio fan, my mind was just absolutely blown. And then you've got the Stefan de Vrij saga scenario, penalty.
What's your thoughts on that? Did de Vrij throw that match?
Look, I don't think he intentionally threw it. I think if he did, he's got some really bad thing. He's going to have to answer to God one day. I don't think he did it intentionally, but now maybe subconsciously. I don't think he should have been in the lineup. I think it's absolutely insane to play a player that's already committed to play for the club that you're directly competing for a Champions League spot in. And so I don't know if his mind was in the right place. Obviously, it looks really, really bad. But we're talking, again, the defining moment in a match that led to Lazio missing out on Champions League. And so obviously, as a Lazio fan, I love seeing him suffer a little bit right now, because he left, with some comments about wanting to win some hardware. And one thing that Lazio's done since he has departed is won trophies, and one thing Inter has not done is won trophies. So this is a massive match. I mean, look, you look at the standings in the table, and you guys are competing for a Scudetto, and we're fighting for a top four finish. That's certainly our goal. And I don't want any part of Scudetto talks with Lazio, especially with what happened last year. I finally, it took me a while to buy into that talk, but then I was in, and obviously COVID derailed that. And so I don't want to talk about Scudetto hopes, but I will say if we were to lose this match, we can shut the door on any possible chance for Lazio winning a Scudetto. Winning this match kind of keeps that little bit of glimmer of hope for the impossible. But certainly when it comes to a top 4 finish, this match is crucial. And so I actually feel pretty good about this for a couple reasons. Right now, Lazio is the most informed team in Serie A, and both these teams are flying high right now. Lazio, 6 straight wins in league play. And I mean, Inter is unbeaten in their last 5 with some massive wins, you know, in league play against Juve. Obviously, you guys faltered in Coppa Italia, but strictly talking league play, and you guys have looked really good. So I think this is going to be an intriguing matchup with both teams playing really well. But one thing I can feel confident about is Simone Inzaghi's ability to prepare and motivate his team for these massive matches, which is something that Conte maybe fails to do sometimes. So I feel pretty good.
Yeah, no, you made some really good points there. I agree completely with Inter. I think it might seem like we're coming in with shaky form, but if you ignore the Coppa Italia, we're coming off, as you said, 5 unbeaten, 4 clean sheets in a row as well, which is really good because we had a shaky start to the season in terms of defending, and we're finally improving those defending numbers. And you guys, as you said, you're the informed team in Italy right now. We're actually playing our next 4 matches, or next 3 matches, are all against the informed teams. You guys, and then after you guys is AC Milan with the informed team, and then we're playing them, and then Genoa under Ballardini now are the 3rd informed team in Italy. So we've got a difficult few matches coming up, but obviously everything will be focused on this one. You know, I'm sure Conte and the boys will be focused on this. And in terms of lineup, we can see them scrolling underneath the predicted lineups. I've got these off Sky Sports in Italy, which seems to be the most reliable for me, but we'll see. Obviously, we're shooting this on the Friday, so we still got a day in between where things could change. Lineups could change, but it looks like pretty much full strength lineup for Inter. A few talking points for Inter's lineup is at the moment we've got 3 guys that are potentially, or they are 1 booking away from a suspension. The 3 Bs, Bastoni, Brozovic and Barella. And obviously going into the derby, the Milan derby, we don't want any of those guys missing. So there's been talk that even maybe Bastoni could be substituted by Alexander Kolarov, which obviously former Lazio player as well, which obviously I think I don't know how much of Inter you watch, but he's been like, you know, the subject of the most hatred, I think, of Inter fans.
I would like to see it as a Lazio fan getting ready for this match. I would love to see him in your lineup.
Yeah, exactly. That describes it perfectly. So I think it's a gamble that you just have to take in the league situation. Like we can't take the ball out of the eye of our this Lazio game and try to think, we don't want Barella to get a yellow card or Brozovic. You just have to put your best team out there and hope that they're disciplined enough not to get a yellow card. Is there anyone on your team, do you know by any chance, that's
Off the top of my head, I don't. But what I do know is we'll be coming into this matchup fairly healthy and an opportunity for us to play our full lineup. I think the lineup that you have scrolling on the bottom is the right one to be expected. A couple interesting things to know, especially with Musacchio. I think it's incredible for me. Such an underrated signing. I was pretty high on it right off the bat. First, because Lazio rarely makes winter signings, and so for us to grab anybody is a win. But he comes in with experience. He slots in exactly where we need him to. He's already displayed the ability to gel with his teammates offensively and moving the ball, and he's been really solid defensively in the couple games he's played. But the fact that he is slotted to start in this game shows how much faith Inzaghi has, because for Inzaghi, he rarely gives players those opportunities so quickly. He's such a manager that believes in having faith in his players and his veterans. It's why the likes of Radu and Lulic continue to play, and Parolo in every situation, because it's important for him to trust his guys. So for somebody new like Musacchio coming in, I mean, it shows that he's got the faith in him, and I really like the way he plays. But, when you look at the players on both sides, there's a lot of really compelling storylines that I am absolutely salivating over. There's the Barella versus SMS, that's going to be absolutely exciting to watch. We talked about it on the Bianco Celesti podcast, and I brought it up with Nima, and I'd love to hear your take on it, because there is a ton of talk about Barella being the best midfielder in Serie A. And look, he's awesome. He's incredible. I am an Azzurri fan. I would love nothing more than to have that next great midfielder that launches us back to where we belong, in winning World Cups and competing in Euros, especially with next summer looming. But for me, he's the sexy new kid on the block, right? That's easy to forget about the guys that have been doing it year in and year out. And we're talking about Sergey Malinkovic, who has been the midfielder of the year, who just came off winning January MVP in Serie A, who's been playing absolutely brilliant. And what I love about somebody like SMS is his game doesn't always show up on a stat sheet. And we live in a world where, on social media, it's about looking at that quick, cool highlight, or how many goals did you score, assist. And so many people watch the matches. And Milinkovic-Savic is somebody that when you're watching the game, you understand the impact that he has. So, and then you've got a Luis Alberto, who obviously came off a record-breaking year in assists, who's now scoring goals this year. And he's the kind of guy that does provide those flashy highlights. And so when we talk about Barella, for me, it's a hold on, everybody. Like, he's good, but we're pretty quick to dismiss these guys that have been consistent here over a course of a couple seasons. What do you think? Are you on the? I know you're an Inter fan, but for you, is Barella the best midfielder in Serie A?
Yeah, it's one of those. Yeah, I think on form, I think right now, if you look at the last month or 2 months, I would say yes. But I know what you mean. Like SMS and especially Luis Alberto. I think Luis Alberto last year was the best midfielder in the league. But with SMS, you've made a great point how he's now. I think I always used to see him as a very inconsistent player. I used to love him. He's one player I've always wanted to come to Inter. But you're right. He was always, he had these highlight reels. He had these touches, and especially against Inter, he always seemed to bully someone. Like other bullies like Brozovic or someone. He'll like nutmeg someone, or he'll be chesting the ball and just nudging someone out of the way, and you're just like, wow, what a player this guy is. And probably he doesn't do as much of that now. He doesn't have those little snippets that people always put on social media now. Now he just has a good,
it's an all-around game. Inzaghi has put more responsibility. It's why you see him relieve Cheeto of the captain's armband when Cheeto comes off. SMS has grown into a really complete player. He's got more responsibility defending now. Obviously, he can still do a lot of those really cheeky things, but at the end of the day, his responsibility, he's a complete footballer, and he's somebody that if you're a club like Inter, Juve, talking abroad, clubs like Manchester United, like, they want him because they know that he can come in, he can play a lot of different roles, play a lot of different styles, but most importantly, I think he's a winning footballer. I think he's the type of player that you want if you're aspiring to win trophies. So I'm excited to see those two go at it. And if I'm an Inter fan, I'm worried because he always comes up big in big matches. And so, I think it'll be really fun, especially for me, seeing Barella continue to develop, and does Barella continue to show up in big matches. I think that's where you become the best midfielder in Serie A, is doing those things, on a big stage.
Yeah, it will be an interesting matchup because in the first match of the season we were still playing that. The Conte was trying that 3-4-1-2 formation with Barella as the CAM, which, luckily he cut it short, but maybe a little bit too late. And it didn't really work out in that match either. And we had, Vidal and Gagliardini, I believe. So it wasn't a great midfield balance, but this time around it should be Gagliardini once again coming in, because Vidal is injured out at the moment. Vidal, I'm one of the few guys that enjoys. I like Vidal, even though I think the thing with Vidal is people were expecting the Vidal that they saw at Juventus or Bayern
Yep.
Munich, which is obviously he's not that. And the problem with Vidal is he still plays as if he's still that guy, as if he's still 25 years old.
Well,
and he
I
always
imagine the challenge for a lot of Inter fans too is it's not just that there was this expectation with Vidal and he's not that same player. But if I was sitting in your seat, my frustration would be that we chose him over some of the younger players you guys were linked to. Obviously, like Tonali being one that if I was dying, I was absolutely dying that, and I never really expect Lazio to be in those types of talks. And I wish we would be linked to a player like that. But if I'm an Inter fan, that's one that I'm going to look at as one that slipped away. Because I still think, he's an absolute gem, an absolute talent. And I think that's probably the frustration with Inter fans is, not only is he not that same guy that you remember when he was back in Serie A at Juve, but he also passed up on a player like Tonali for Vidal, which makes it all that much more of a win now season for you guys. But you mentioned the 3-5-2. That's another thing that, if I'm talking about just really cool storylines and things that interest me about this match, both sides play a 3-5-2.
Yeah.
We mentioned the battle of SMS versus Barella. Another one that I'm really interested in is the Lazari versus Aqui. We're talking about probably the two best wing backs, in Serie A.
Definitely
Lazari,
the quickest.
Yeah, absolutely the quickest. Lazari right now, I mean, he was struggling a little bit to start this season. One thing you can always count on Lazari for is his effort, his pace, his ability to get back on defense. He was really struggling with his ability to distribute the ball and cross it in. But he's kind of fixed that, and he's been an absolute terror for defenses on this 6-game unbeaten streak, which he's largely been a reason. I'd say he's a top 3 reason, why we are on this run right now. So I am really intrigued, to see that matchup between Hakimi and Lazari.
Yeah, that would be very interesting. But yeah, as you said, Lazari. I think both with Hakimi and Lazari, they're not the most technical players. We've seen that sometimes with Hakimi when you watch him, sometimes his first touch, sometimes he's not the best close control guy. But if he's got open space, same with Lazari, you're dusted. I saw Lazari completely destroying that Roma left-hand side in the Rome derby. That was a big performance from him. Yeah, very impressive.
Absolutely.
And but the thing is, against Lazari, which one thing I'm not very convinced by this season, Inter is the left wing back situation. We've got Ashley Young to be rumored to be starting there.
Yep.
And I've been pretty vocal. I think it's gone a little bit under the radar how bad Ashley Young has been this season. And he is rumored to be starting, so I'm not very happy with that one. Him versus Lazari. I feel like Perisic, with his threat, with his, athleticism, I think he would be a better matchup against Lazari, and he would pin Lazari a little bit back, make him think about going forward more than Ashley Young would do. Because, once Ashley Young gets forward now, I just know he's not going to try to beat his man. I know he's probably going to pass it backwards. He might, do a decent cross because he still has, a nice foot, but with Perisic, I feel like he gives a bit more option 1v1. So I'm not very looking forward to having that Young versus Lazari matchup. And on the other side, I think Maruzic should be able to. I think he'll be pretty good. He's very good defensively from what I've seen.
He is. Yeah,
last time you had.
He doesn't
Fares,
have the pace of Hakimi quite, but he's got enough pace and he's got the strength to neutralize him a little bit for sure.
Yeah, last time we had Fares and he was definitely struggling against Hakimi. As I was saying, midfield, it looks like Gagliardini starting. I would rather prefer to see Christian Eriksen having another start. It looked like he's becoming a bit more confident, or Conte is becoming more confident in Eriksen. So I would have liked to see that technical. That's the first time we had such a technical midfield this season against Juve, and I feel like to an extent it did work, and I would like to see it continued, but. Gagliardini is Conte's man, and on that side it would be SMS, so I guess he's trying to have someone a bit more physical to battle SMS, I guess, for the headers and physicality. I guess Eriksen would just be eaten alive if it was SMS there. So yeah, I'm pretty happy with the lineup. Up front, actually, forgot to mention, it looks like it will be Alexis Sanchez rather than Lautaro, which is quite interesting. I guess Lautaro played the full 90 minutes against Juventus. It was pretty, he presses a lot. He's very, quite an intense presser. So I can see why he's getting rotated. And Alexis deserves a chance, even though he's only scored 2 goals this season. His chance creation, his key passes are very right up there with like the best of them, with Luis Alberto and Rodrigo De Paul this season. So I'm quite looking forward to seeing the Lukaku Sanchez up front, whereas with you guys you've got the usual Correa and Immobile. So yeah, it's gonna be a good match. It's gonna be a good match.
Yeah, look, we're 25 minutes into this, 20 minutes into this, and we just now mentioned Lukaku and Ciro Immobile, which is incredible. But that goes back to this particular game just being so intriguing, because you have these incredible matchups of, again, we're talking about the guys battling out for best in the league. We talk about the battle for best midfielder in the league. You've got Ciro versus Lukaku, both sitting at 14 goals. Capo Cannoniere race. Who's the best striker in Serie A? And then, we haven't even talked about the Acerbi versus Stefan de Vrij. Like, for me, for my money, Acerbi the best center back right now in Serie A. And so there's these such intriguing matchups. And Lukaku is obviously struggled against some of the top sides, is a little bit more inconsistent. We talked about it on the Bianco Celesti broadcast. Like, Lukaku he'll drop 3 goals on you and then maybe go a couple matches without one, versus a Ciro Immobile is like, he's going to score a whole game. I mean, count it, put it in the books. Whatever the scoreline ends up being, an Inter versus Lazio, likely one of those goals is going to be Ciro. So it's really going to be interesting for me, and it's nice that we've been able to get Correa back and healthy in time with a string of matches, because for me that's the best pairing that we have on our squad is the Correa Immobile, and obviously off the bench we have some options, but that's going to be a good one. What do you think? I asked Nima this question on our podcast. Who do you think finishes the season with more goals? Obviously both of them standing at 14. Is it going to be Ciro or Lukaku?
Well, at the start of the season, I felt like this was going to be the season where Lukaku was a capocannoniere, but the way that we play is still the same as last year. We haven't really changed it. Lukaku's used so much as that target man. He comes deep a lot of times and plays with his back to goal. So a lot of the times when we've crossed the ball into the box, he's not even in there a lot of times, which is, it's not great for him, but he's so vital to the way we play. So, he kind of has to do that. So for that reason, I think Ciro will probably end up with more goals, because he gets those, chances. He's the terminal point of your team. Right. Whereas with us, sometimes it could be Sanchez coming in, or Lautaro, or the midfielders making the runs in. Oh, you've seen Hakimi is our 3rd top scorer. He's given that freedom to come into the box.
Yeah, so, well, I think the credit goes to both those players, Lukaku and Ciro, because what I do like about Lukaku is his ability to offer more than just scoring goals. And I know everybody just looks at a goal tally sheet to determine whether or not a player is worth anything these days. But you mentioned that Lukaku is so critical to other things that you guys do, and holding up the ball and distributing. And that's, for me, again, Ciro has been able to put these godly numbers up. But I think what gets forgotten about Ciro is all the other things he does. I mean, you'll see him in our own box defending. And
he's
sprinting. He's all over the place, right? And distributing. And I think last year he finished with 7 or 8 assists. That again gets overlooked. So again, he gets recognized for when he scores or doesn't score. But both of these players do so much that often gets overlooked. I wish more people would give both of them more credit for those other elements of their game.
Yeah, I mean, with Lukaku, you've said, everyone looks at the goals, obviously, which is what you look at in a big match, and they pull up those stats. He's now scored against big teams this season or something, against the top 10. He's only scored twice, and it was, only Milan. But, the performances haven't been bad, though. It's like, even last match, people made out that De Ligt pocketed Lukaku and all this kind of stuff. But Lukaku has some nice plays where, back to goal, he had some nice layoffs. Lautaro was the one who had all the chances last match. So, he was the one that should have been, taking them away. So a lot of people just kind of ignore, obviously, I think that's just football in general nowadays. People just look at stats rather than...
Yeah, they're not watching the matches.
Yeah, exactly. They just go on SofaScore, pull up, the little stat sheet, and then, run their agenda. And that's it. That's their thing. If it agrees with their agenda, they'll post it.
Exactly.
If it doesn't, then they'll stay silent for that week and then pipe up again the week afterwards.
Yep.
But Ciro for me is the best striker in the league. Yeah, no, without a doubt. He's such a hard worker as well. And that pairing with Correa, I really like Correa because he's one of those few players in the league that's really 1v1. He's gonna.
Yep.
Defenders just they're already shaking in their boots when he's pointing 1v1 against them. So yeah, I am concerned about that, and that's why wrapping it up with some match predictions. I think it will be edgy at the beginning, but I think it will open up because I don't think both teams, even though both teams have good defenses, we've seen that they can leak goals, both teams. So I feel like it will be a 2-2 draw. That's my match prediction. I think Milinkovic-Savic, as usual, will score because he always seems to score against us, and 1 goal from IMMOBILE. And for Inter, I think it will be Lukaku, and I think a Lukaku penalty and Hakimi, and a Hakimi goal.
Okay. So for me, I as well have it as a draw. I have it as a 1-1 draw. I kind of see this match being a little ugly because I think both clubs understand the weight of this particular match, the point in the season, where they are in the table. I think they're going to feel each other out a little bit. It's going to be a little bit more tactical. I don't see it being high flying. Obviously, I could be absolutely wrong, but I do see it, especially early on. If there is an early goal, I think it obviously could open things up, and you'll see both sides play a little bit more to what you're used to seeing. But I do think it's going to start out kind of ugly. Because both teams are going to feel each other out. Cautious to lose the match is how I see both sides playing it. So for me, I have it as a 1-1 draw. Lazio has been a little bit better defensively, obviously capable of blunders, like the best of them, and giving up some boneheaded goals. But, I think Musacchio has been nice back there, and I see Cheeto scoring as usual. And I do see Lukaku bearing one in this match, and finishing off at a 1-1 draw. So, hopefully it's a better match than I expect. And there's some fireworks, but I think both sides would be happy to walk away with this a little unscathed and at least earning a draw. But likewise, I think both sides are desperate for 3 points as well, knowing obviously what loss in points means. I mean, you look at the matchups this weekend, and both sides are going to need 3 points. I think Roma is maybe the only top 4-5 club right now that isn't playing anybody big this weekend. So obviously there's
Milan are playing Spezia, I think.
Okay, so I mean, big right there, because I mean, might as well mark that down as 3 points for Milan. So it makes it all the more important because there's some pretty tough matchups going around the league this weekend.
Yeah, no, spot on. And there's no Vidal, so there won't be any shithouse red cards given or
yeah. Well, hopefully no Patrick either, and unless he comes off the bench, because he's always good for something silly too. And look, Lazio, we've got this, and we've got Sampdoria before we've got Champions League. So something for me to be a little bit positive about is that this is a match that they're going to need points in before they really start focusing on Champions League, and obviously that massive match against Bayern. So, we'll see. Hoping for the best.
Yeah, I think you guys are a big. I count you guys as a big match team. I think the way Inzaghi sets you up, you guys are made for big matches. So I think you'll do well against Bayern. I'll be watching you guys closely.
We've got nothing to lose. I think exactly. That's as a Lazio fan, I think when we have everything to lose and there's pressure, that's when I tend to get my heart broken. I am going into this match excited, no expectations whatsoever. As long as we don't lose 7-1, like Roma likes to do, we can go into this match, kind of just playing open football and showcasing, the talented players that we have. So it'll be fun.
Yeah, man. But yeah, Sean, thank you very much for joining me. I think that was good fun. Yeah, make sure everyone to check out Sean on Twitter. I've left his on the title there. Check out the Bianco Celesti broadcast. Any closing comments from you, Sean?
No, it was a pleasure. I mean, you're doing great stuff here. Thank you for having me on. I mean, this was fun. I look forward to doing this again in the future, and we'll have to have you on the Bianco Celesti broadcast, sometime soon.
Yeah, anytime. And I've got Jerry Mancini coming on for post-match reaction, so
that's always going to be fun. Yeah.
Right. Thank you everyone for watching.
Right,
Make sure
Sharma.
to leave a thumbs up and subscribe, and Forza Inter.